r/AskReddit. How have you seen a person rebuild their life in a single day? I had a cousin who was pretty wild. He took sold drugs, partied a lot, adrenaline junkie. The whole family had the idea that he'd be dead before 40. However, one day he decided to move across the country and become a cop. Switch teams? Yes or no? Epic gamer moment. Now that he's a cop, he can say the gamer word as much as he wants. You have been auto-balanced. My mom is 10 years sober today. I remember her opening another beer, taking one sip, putting it down and saying I'm done. She checked herself into rehab the next day. My dad joined about 3 months later. Both are completely different people, and I can't imagine our relationship being what it is today if they continued to drink. My mom went to inpatient rehab for her alcoholism 3 times. Failed out every time. She was drinking like a liter of vodka a day for at least a decade. She had to do supervised detoxes at the hospital every time or she would have died. One day I got an email from my dad saying mom had been a few months sober after randomly stopping one day. She's still sober 4 years later. My dad still keeps a few beers stashed away because I think he's still afraid of her detoxing or something. My freshman year of high school there was this awful bully who would make life hell for anyone he could. He was almost cartoonishly mean and cruel. I truly hated him. The next year a teacher whom the bully respected pulled him aside and told him that he was too smart to be acting that way and that he was going to end up friendless and in jail if he continued that behavior. Literally the next day at school this kid starting trying to make amends with people he'd terrorized, myself included. He started taking his schoolwork seriously and started standing up for other people and trying to be as kind as possible to others around him. 18 years later he's still one of my dearest friends in the world. I'd take a bullet for that dude. Kicked my ex out of my apartment, packed my own stuff the same day and moved back home until I could move again. In just 3 hours I went from feeling hopeless and afraid to being in a safe place with constant security, 2 big dogs, at least 2 people awake at all times, and he didn't know where it was. I left an old ex who was worthless. He had no job and I supported us both, plus his son from a previous relationship, with my entry-level job after graduating college. We were in a 30-year-old trailer with dilapidated floors and no air conditioning in the south. He would spend whatever money he got on cigarettes and weed, and it wasn't above him to steal money from his 7-year-old's piggy bank for cigarettes. My self-confidence was in the dumps, and I put up with this behavior for some crazy reason for a few years. One day I confided in my best friend that I wanted to leave him, but was scared because I didn't have anywhere to go. She showed up 30 minutes later and helped me pack all my things and let me move in with her for $100 rent. I got a new job 2 weeks later that put me on my current career path, met my now husband soon after that, and now I'm married with 2 kids, a house owner, and have my professional certifications. I credit nearly everything I have today to my friend and that one day that she refused to let me hesitate on making the best decision I needed to make. That person is me, and it was yesterday. I had my diagnosis of narcolepsy confirmed, and was prescribed Provigil. I popped one of those beautiful babies the second I exited the pharmacy. Typical day before medication. Get home from work, sleep, try to do something. Fall asleep, more sleep, try to clean the house. Sleep, try to play with my kids. Sleep instead after kids are in bed. Take a shower, fall asleep in the shower. Yesterday, get home, call on a job opportunity, mow the lawn, laundry, dishes, put together my daughter's bike, pay bills, balance checkbook, budget, see math, floating off things for a few minutes, put dinner on, take my daughter for a bike ride, read a book to the kids as they laid down for bed, played a video game, wrote notes for a book I want to write, more book reading. I am a 247-365 single dad with 3 kids. Every time I've stopped to appreciate the change today, I cry. Everywhere I look now, I see opportunity. I am intelligent, and now, I have the energy to do anything. For years, my sister had a super toxic friendship with a girl that epitomized narcissistic and manipulative behavior. My sister was constantly down on herself, exhausted from taking care of her, and feeling depressed because she felt like she was a failure of a friend. Then one day, after a phone call, she slammed down the phone and said, "Fuck it, I'm done with her." I swear I saw weights sliding down her shoulders and shackles falling off of her. She's just so much better off now. Don't stick with friendships just because you've known each other for a long time. I would love to know what the final straw was that caused your sister to finally throw up her hands. My brother was always getting in fights at school. Fort teacher even knocked out a cop once who was pushing his buttons. Stealing, skipping school, racing and just reckless. I hated him and everyone thought he'd be in jail for sure and dead a little after. Got a girl pregnant. Immediately stepped up, married her a few years later after he made sure he loved her. House, 70-ish job, sis-in-law good job, second kid, little to no debt, and I like being around him now. Part of me is pissed off because the dude got to have a nice life and punch a cop. I have a nice life, but was an absolute weeb in high school. I found proof my ex was cheating. Later that day I booked a ticket to Nashville to hang out with two of my best friends. My ex never allowed me to travel or do anything by myself, so this was huge. When he got home from work that night I told him I was leaving him and going out of town. I left in the morning feeling better than I had in years. Had an awesome time with my friends. Came back, packed my stuff, moved out. Found a better job. Bought my own car. Wasn't allowed to have one. And then bought my own house. Adopted way too many pets. Met my now fiance. Got on the depression and anxiety meds I should have started years ago, and life is pretty damn good. All because I saw my ex's intern's boobs on his phone and booked that ticket. I let a guy go 2 years ago. He was a great salesman but very hard to work with and bad for the team. I met him at a fundraiser a couple weeks ago, and he told me that day he got let go. He found some Indian website spammers, offered to sell their services for half the revenue, and his company selling outsourced its services has since then made him richer than anyone he used to work for. He said that with his skill set he could have survived in any situation, but was too scared and too brainwashed to leave the safety of a big corporation. I'm probably in the same boat. Just slap your boss across the face, my guy. When I was in my late 20s I walked into an army recruitment office and said, "I'm in my 20s. I've been living in my car for the last month and I haven't eaten in 2 days and I'm completely ashamed of all of this." The recruiter took me to a diner for lunch, made a few phone calls, and for 2 days I slept on a bed in an abandoned office at an Army Reserve Center in our city. Then I was on a plane for Fort Benning, Georgia. That one day changed my life, and now, almost 20 years later, I'm married with kids. I have a college degree in a STEM field. I own a house and I'm completely debt free. And I have some incredible stories from my time in the army as well as the time before I joined. Most of the stuff that happened afterwards is pretty mundane and boring. And I'm glad of that. We all know or have heard of video game addiction, and I was one of the more serious cases. Here's my story. I worked a dead-end full commission computer sales job fresh out of university and was introduced to this new game in development called Warcraft. I had known the top-down games from years past and loved WC3 and the expansions, so the tech who introduced me gave me his login information to try it out. This was about 2003, and the game was not released yet to the public. The technician's brother had a work visa for Vivendi Entertainment and gave his younger brother a friends and family alpha login, and that's what he gave me. This is before too far, before authenticators, recruit a friend and referral codes. There was no 40-man raids ready, and the most endgame dungeon was Black Rock Depths. Silithus and the Plaga Lands, before they were split to east-west, had massive infernals guarding the zone, and if you got too close, they would one-shot you. Orgrimmar and Ironforge were wildly different. I highly recommend you look up Alpha WoW on YouTube. I loved the game, and as soon as I could, I bought the game and started my own Toon Zerker. Spinabrika Seva was the earliest Toon I can remember playing. He was a Tauren Shaman and was level 64 when Molten Core, BWL and AQ20/40 were released. I quit the dead-end job mentioned above to play this game full-time, not a Twitch streamer or anything because that didn't exist. I just played the game and spent money on subscriptions and buying gold from shady websites. I played 12-16 hours a day, stopping only to eat the quickest food I could prepare: toast, pizza pockets, Jamaican patties, MR noodles, etc. Refill my river of Diet Coke flowing through my body, do my business in the bathroom, and that's it. I'd wake up and play before I ate, showered, morning shit, etc. It got to the point where my guild members had my personal cell phone, and if I wasn't online between 8 AM to 11 PM, they were worried and would call me or text me. I was over 450 pounds. I had alienated all my IRL friends, and was so unhealthy that I had heart-related scares and health problems in my early to mid-20s. I had not been laid in years, and had worn through multiple sets of bed sheets because I'd lay on the sheets and play the game on my TV. Around the time Lich King was released, we were fighting for server first 25 HLK kill, when I remember one morning waking up and just not wanting to play anymore. It was literally overnight. I had uninstalled the game and called my friend James up. It was a Wednesday. He had not heard from me in 3 or 4 years or so. I'm not sure of the exact time frame. He was so excited to hear from me that he called in sick to work and picked me up in his truck, and we went out for lunch. He paid because I was $20,000 in debt on maxed out credit cards. I told him what happened and what I'd been doing. He was a very good friend who understood and offered his help, helping me find a job, giving me some money to get back on track. The next day he called in sick again and came over early morning to make sure I had no relapsed or anything, which I had not, and had bought me a prepaid 1-year gym membership and a $500 gift card to Old Navy for some new clothes. I am now in a wicked awesome job, unionized and permanent in the id field. I have dropped over 400 pounds. I gained and lost over many years, sitting around 200 pounds today. I have a girlfriend and a cat and am working on saving up for a condo. I have less than $10,000 in debt now, but it's a slow process. James passed away a few years ago and I told this story at his service. No one knew what he did for me. He never told anyone what he did. I knew, and that's all that mattered to him. A true friend, and I miss him every day.